Hi, it's me, the roaster of Wynncraft. Today, however, I will lay aside the barbecue and the frying pans, cause today I will talk about the 10 best quests in Wynncraft. As always, this is all my opinion, so feel free to yell at me in the comments how wrong I am. So, let's get started. Starting at number 10, we have Forbidden Prison. This quest starts in Galleyboard, where you, the player, is falsely arrested and shoved into a high-security prison in Candor. There, the player must find hints, use stealth, and eventually escape. As you will see later on the list, quests that heavily make use of actual role-playing will rank very high. After all, Wynncraft is an MMORPG role-playing game. The best part about Forbidden Prison are the optional side quests you can do. For instance, there are some NPCs you can help to get better rewards. There is different dialogue depending on who you decide to sit with on the table, and little secrets like that are everywhere throughout the quest. This is pretty much the only instance where your active choice affects something in the game. Apart from that, this quest gives off major old school RPG vibes, which is great, and the stealth sequences are pretty much the best in the entire game. My only real nitpick is, why do we never hear about the prison again? This is a high security illegal torture prison, and it is just casually introduced in some quests and then never heard of again. I keep saying it, Wynncraft's lore is bloated beyond belief. We have time travel, alternate dimension, drugs, alcohol, a racial war, Bigfoot, and all of those highly interesting things are just used for one quest and then forgotten? Please Wynncraft, build on your existing mechanics and storylines more and stop bloating your story with these one-off gimmicks. Sorry for this long rant, but this is just a problem a lot of quests have, even the good ones. So yeah, Forbidden Prison is great. Let's move on to number 9. The currently highest level quest in the game is a Hunter's Calling, or AHC for short. The main gameplay loop is talking to this Dark Guardian thing. He mainly keeps telling you random gibberish no one understands, but judging by the context, this guy shows you what would have happened if you fought on the evil side. Excuse me, of course I would have fought on the dark side, Durn Beast on top, but the game doesn't let me. This quest definitely helps idiots like me to live out their evil fantasies by assassinating politicians, blowing up poor people's homes, and flirting with an NPC only to lure them into a trap and mutilate them into a giant metal robot. Kinda kinky, but I dig it. But on a more serious note, AHC definitely suffers from its non-existent integrity into the storyline. A better build-up to this final quest would have helped immensely. Right now, this quest just happens out of nowhere, but apart from that and the long walking distance, which can get annoying sometimes, everything else about AHC is great. There are multiple memorable and challenging boss fights from Theoric to Maxi, and especially the fight against your friends Alidar and Tassim. The storyline is emotional and hard-hitting by having the player commit horrible things for horrible people. The quest was probably the most emotional quest in the entire game. Even though lore-wise this quest is absolute nonsense, its position as the final quest and having you, the player, going back to old places you visited and the people you helped culminates into a dreamlike but also anxiety-inducing finale to the Wynncraft storyline. As I said, this quest is definitely flawed, but its best aspects are some of the best in all of Wynncraft. Number 8 is Shattered Minds. A lot of people think of it as a haha funny meme quest, cause that's what the plot sounds like. The player is tasked to find a mushroom in a cave, but then they get high from the mushroom and hallucinate a talking frog who talks even more gibberish than the portal guy from AHC. Then there are colorful rooms with weird architecture, and haha, there's Yaya in his final form, and the trippy forest with the weird tier 6 loot chest that is apparently my mom, because it says go to the gym and own a business and go to therapy, and then the quest is over and when you become sober again. As silly and memey as this quest might seem, it's a breath of fresh air compared to the self-serious info lore dump quests that plague the level 60 to 70 range. Honestly, the gameplay of Shattered Minds is surprisingly enjoyable, and the sheer absurdity of the colors and the NPCs makes it one of the most memorable and unique quests in the entire game. As this is a video on the 8 channel, I need to criticize this quest in some way. The beginning cave section has kind of annoying parkour with all the different enemies shooting at you, and the puzzle before the trippy forest could use some minor adjustments as it's kinda boring, just going into the green things. But apart from these minor nitpicks, Shattered Minds remains one of the most beloved quests of Wynncraft, and that for good reason. Fantastic Voyage is, well, fantastic. Quests involving ocean adventures like Misadventure on the Sea and Redbeard's Booty are generally very good quests, but wholly sold it. Fantastic Voyage manages to combine the role-playing aspects from Misadventure on the Sea, the puzzles from Redbeard's Booty, and adds great adventurous vibes into the mix, creating a nearly flawless ocean adventure quest. Rayland is a pretty funny NPC who, for Wynncraft standards, is one of the best characters in the game. The mini-games like rowing the boat through the cliffs is very enjoyable, and the survival castaway gameplay on Gateway Island was unexpected but very welcome, and perhaps my favorite part of the quest. And at the end, you even get a teaser for the Silent Expanse and the Eye. Gateway Island is such a mysterious place, and we, the community, still don't know much about it. Like, where exactly is it located? What the hell is the Gateway Realm? Is it part of Durn or the Silent Expanse? How do these locations connect? The Gateway Realm was a very surprising finale to this laid-back ocean quest. And the coolest part is, no one knows anything about this place, and that's great. Sometimes keeping a mystery like this adds more to the quest, and perhaps we will have to wait until the Durn update comes out to find what the Gateway Realm actually is. Overall, a very good quest with great vibes and many unexpected twists and turns. I think this is gonna be somewhat controversial, but Point of No Return is the best Silent Expanse quest, and in my opinion, the 6th best quest in Wynncraft. I get it, it can be very buggy, especially on higher ping, and trust me, I'm an expert when it comes to high ping. But once you look past these flaws, it becomes clear how Point of No Return is one of the most unique quests with the most distinct and striking atmosphere in all of Wynncraft. This quest tells the story of the ancient miners and the monolith of light in Lutho, and how Orpheon basically trapped their souls in an illusion of happiness while their actual bodies wander as empty husks in Lutho and their eyes get hung up on trees, creating the eyeball forest. Most time playing the quest, you follow your soul through the empty dark rooms, doing parkour and puzzles with this really cool body swapping mechanic that unfortunately sucks at higher ping. At the end you find yourself in ancient Lutho, where your soul confronts you about either staying here in the illusion of happiness or face the real world again. I wish there was an option to stay in the monolith realm and then your character becomes unplayable or something like that, but I doubt something like this will be implemented. Wynncraft ain't got the balls to do this. At least give us a better dilemma situation and make the quest have multiple different possible endings. Show us how the monolith realm is a place of fake happiness and how it can be harmful like a drug. Because to be honest, present Lutho looks more colorful and cheerful than the supposed happy version. But apart from my usual nitpicks, I adore the atmosphere and unique challenges of the quest. Definitely a memorable quest that is somewhat underrated. WynnExcavation Site D will forever be the most impactful quest on my first playthrough. Yes, it was recently announced that the entire WynnExcavation questline will be updated in the near future. And yes, it is somewhat in need of a redesign, as WynnExcavation is one of the oldest storylines in Wynncraft. The main appeal of this quest particular is definitely the what the fuck is going on energy. The 3 prior quests in the WynnExcavation series were all pretty straightforward and it was unclear where the story would go. But then boom, Site D. Traitor Armadale is actually the leader of the organization and he has been playing some 5D chess with you the whole time. And then suddenly there's an ancient Olmec city and Armadale is a wither now, and then you end up in Ragni, a place you probably haven't visited in a long time, and you're probably confused as hell. The my goals are beyond your understanding vibes of this quest are so delightfully confusing, and the main gameplay of finding out about the conspiracy with the King of Troms, escaping the city and joining the revolution is all really enjoyable. Navigating the Olmec city can be a bit annoying since all the enemies are faster than you and can teleport, and the boss fight at the end is somewhat underwhelming. Like, come on, Armadale just sucked up the power of 4 almighty cosmic objects. Why does he still suck so much? 2.1 would be a great opportunity to at least update the boss fight, but as stated, they will revamp the entire questline at a later date. But until we wait for that, WynnExcavation Site D remains an extremely memorable quest with great puzzles and an interesting storyline, for lack of a better word. Hey, do you play horror games? I surely don't, so the quest A Grave Mistake was the closest thing to a horror game experience I ever had, and thus the quest felt far more memorable and atmospheric to me than it probably actually is. A Grave Mistake has you running around the Twain graveyard and complete 4 pretty basic puzzles. Then a passage opens and after a cutscene the quest ends. It really doesn't sound that engaging because at its core it's a very basic quest. The real power comes from its presentation and especially the use of ambient sounds. Wynncraft has a pretty banger soundtrack that is almost constantly playing in the background, so when the music suddenly completely vanishes and is replaced with vanilla Minecraft cave sounds and thunderstorm ambience, an almost uncanny silence is created that contrasts so greatly against the cheerful melodies you are used to hearing. Apart from that, all the typical horror elements are here. We have blood, dead bodies, jump scares, etc. This quest demonstrates how you don't need intricate game design or advanced mechanics in boss battles. Sometimes a simple quest with simple puzzles can be enough, and with the right presentation and atmosphere, it can even become the 4th best quest in the game. Another dark horror quest is Memory Paranoia. If I recall correctly, this is Grian's favorite quest, and we all know the more subscribers someone has, the more important their opinion becomes. So Memory Paranoia being this high is basically a fact, you can't deny. Laying aside the mob mentality of the Dreamstan hive mind, Memory Paranoia really is a great quest. It has you exploring this ancient mansion and finding memories about the Caritat family. The mansion was actually built on top of the parasite's hideout and gavel, so there is darkness leaking into the mansion or whatever the fuck is going on there. Like many other quests on this list, the immersion of this quest is great. The storyline alternates between past and the present. The past memories feel alive but dreamlike at the same time, while in the present, the decrepit mansion tells the story of sadness and the passage of time. The horror elements also really add to the experience. This time it's more of the psychological horror, with Mr. Caritat spiraling down into madness and killing his own wife out of despair, and the darkness that slowly corrupts him. This quest has dark, melancholic and very tense moments that all flow together beautifully, creating a truly spectacular quest. Definitely deserving the number 3 spot. However, there are 2 quests that are even better than this one, so let's get to number 2. As you could maybe tell by now, I really like quests that heavily lean into the role-playing aspect. A prime example of such a quest is Flight in Distress, where the player finally remembers that they are in fact a soldier and have duties to fulfill. So in Flight in Distress, the player is tasked to guard an airship that is going from Sinfras to Deathless. The best thing about this quest is, once again, its immersion. You have to help different passengers, the captain or the mechanic, but between those actions you have to go to sleep, simulating an actual daily routine. The second half of the quest with the Sky Raider stuff isn't nearly as engaging as the first one, but still very enjoyable. I don't even know what to say anymore. It's just a great quest with cozy vibes and immaculate immersion. The only thing that's missing is an option to push that kid off the airship. So, before we get to number 1, here are some quick honorable mentions that didn't quite make it on the list. A Journey Beyond and A Journey Further are both great quests with tense drama and striking atmosphere. But why is everyone walking so slowly? You know these memes about following NPCs that are 10 times slower than you? Yeah, this quest is a prime example of this. There are some other annoying parts, like the Aledar escort sequence. I don't really like this one, even though Aledar in a card is the most epic thing Assaulted has ever created. Hollow Serenity tells the gruesome story of the Faltach family. Although the storyline is great and deliciously dark, it somewhat suffers a bit from its length and dialogue frequency. Both Misadventure on the Sea and Redbeard's Booty are great sea adventure involving pirates. They don't really have the greatest lore or story, but both of them are just really fun time with great role-playing and a sense of exploration respectively. Other great quests I like include Lexdale Witch Trials, mainly for their unique atmosphere and parkour. Acquiring Credentials has an illegal black market that's always appreciated, the Hidden City is just great all around, and the Canary Calls is an absolute drug trip, even though the minecart section sucks. So let's move on to number 1. And finally, the best quest in all of Wynncraft is 1000 meters under. The atmosphere is incredible, the immersion and the story are also incredible. The player is hired by a scientist who lost an incredibly valuable crystal to the void, so the player and other volunteers are sent into the void on some sort of void submarine to bring the crystal back. Similar to Flight in Distress, the immersion of this quest is immaculate, having the best role-playing in the game, period. First off, there are other people who you work together with and who share the same motivation as you. Wynncraft is often plagued by the main character syndrome. The player is the hero, they are the best, etc. But having the player work with similar-minded people makes the quest feel very natural and believable. Another great thing is the simulation of an actual routine, similar to Flight in Distress. You sometimes go to rest, other times you help on board of the ship, and sometimes the entire crew goes outside searching for the crystal on the Void Islands. The void slowly getting more desaturated and unsettling the deeper the ship goes is a great detail, and of course the finale where the rope cuts and everyone dies except the player is just wonderfully dark. Here the main character problems shine through a bit again, as I mentioned earlier, but at this point I don't even care. The walk through the Void Islands feels very depressing and mellow, and the environments are surreal and dangerous. Finally, at the end, the player finds the Void Village, where a bunch of mutated Void humans live. These guys are pretty funny, but they also need the crystal you have been searching for to survive down here. I wish this moral dilemma was built up more and the player was given the choice either to take the crystal back to the surface or to leave it to the void people. I don't know, that's my only real criticism. The rest of the quest is simply amazing. From its atmosphere and immersion to the surreal void islands and interesting characters. Definitely my favorite quest in the game. So, these were my top 10 favorite quests in Wynncraft. Feel free to write your favorite quests into the comments and kindly educate me how wrong my opinions were. And once again, thank you so much for 100 subscribers. World domination is slowly getting closer.